She's to sick bay. The doctor should look at it as soon as possible.
It is the way in which we propagate our species. Please demonstrate how this is accomplished. So, what's next? I don't know.
Hi, and welcome to Casual Trek, a Star Trek recap and ranking podcast brought to you by Nerd and Tie and Hog Slop. It's slop for hogs, so get it in your face, you filthy animals. I'm Charlie Etheridge Nunn. I'm a writer and a fan of the Borderlands video game.
I'm Mars Reed Lobato, a science fiction writer and a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And why, who's this we've got with us? It's a couple of lovely guest stars. So, who are you, and what are you fans of?
Hello, everyone. It's Cele from the assault carrier Celeste. As I have returned. I have returned to Casual Trek, and I am a fan of the James Gunn TV series Creature Commandos.
And I'm Sean from sister podcast Famicom Dojo. I recorded a new episode recently, so I can actually say that without lying.
Hooray!
Wow! Yay!
But I'm also a fan of Lower Decks, which is real Star Trek.
Wow. And controversial take there.
It's the realist.
And since Sean is on, we once again have to say that Sean does not pay for Twitter.
That's correct.
But
Hang on, do you mean X, the everything app?
No, he does not pay. He does not pay for Twitter. But I've heard from good sources that he has a down payment on a very nice-looking Cybertruck.
Ooh.
Oh, God. I think that's worse. Like, that is objectively worse.
Oh, man.
Well,
And
we have
Sean is storming off, and okay, he is gone.
That's all right. That's why we've got two guest stars. You know, keep a spare around.
He came back with a phaser rifle. Oh my gosh!
Oh no!
Everyone stay super cool, all right? We'll get through this together.
Okay. It's all right. We've got the bantering and the bickering going. Kind of apt given what we're talking about today, because it's our 60th episode spectacular. Not only do we have guests, but we have possibly the most timely Star Trek thing to examine and rank on our big list of best to worst. It's only a couple of days old at time of recording. Yep, we're getting our black leather costumes on. We're getting covert. We're going into section 31, the motion picture. But before we go on, what non-Star Trek things have people been enjoying since we last spoke? Who wishes to go first?
I'll be honest. I was really struggling this week. But I'm gonna say this morning I went to my local coffee shop for the first time this year. Got myself a nice Americano. Got myself a nice blueberry scone.
Oh.
Sat down. I drank a coffee. I read a couple of books, and it was nice.
Oh, that sounds like an ideal start to the day.
So I've been really excited because after years of ridiculous copyright fighting and still not the most ideal solution, but we have something, the Macross franchise finally started streaming the stuff beyond what was awkwardly Americanized as Robotech in the 80s. Like almost all of it was thrown up on Hulu and Disney Plus over the last couple weeks. So after watching it pirated many years ago, I have been thoroughly enjoying being able to just watch Macross 7 and Macross Frontier legally on my television. It feels amazing, and there's not a whole lot to be excited for us Americans right now, so you got to take the W's you can get.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
I just wrapped up the second season of Silo, which I've been waiting for and sort of trudging through. I wasn't sure it was going to come to a head. But now that it's over, and after trawling through the Reddit the subreddit specifically about it, I went and I bought the entire trilogy of books because I'm not going to wait another 2 years for season 3. If you haven't watched the last episode of Silo, the latest, I should say, not the last, it ends on a very interesting note that made me want to read the book Shift pretty badly. So, yeah.
It's a documentary about farming, right?
Oh, absolutely.
just all about grain.
Oh, okay.
just full of it.
It's a very poor knockoff of Fargo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was going to say it's a poor knockoff of Fallout, or is Fallout a poor knockoff of Silo? What did come first? I'm sure there's some cross-pollination there.
Well, Fallout is a poor knockoff of, like, A Boy and His Dog by Harlan Ellison. But Charlie, what about you?
Well, I've been enjoying a game called Midnight Suns on the PlayStation. It's Marvel-based, because I'm a horrendous Marvel zombie, and I love, like, a tactical RPG type thing, like XComs and Fire Emblems, and it's that, but with Marvel characters, and you get to play a hunter who's mostly hanging out with the spooky kids and a bit annoyed the Avengers are there taking up space and refusing to speak to Deadpool. So it's
Wait. Deadpool's not a Midnight Sun. The Midnight Suns were the Daniel Ketch incarnation of Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze, Morbius, and Blade the Vampire Hunter, I recall.
Yeah, this version, it feels very much like they've gone, right, first of all, we need the MCU Avengers, obviously. They can all be Midnight Suns now. But the actual Midnight Suns are Blade, Nico from The Runaways, the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, and Ilyana Rasputin. And then the Avengers have come in, and they've lost a bunch of stuff. Like, their tower gets smashed pretty early on, and it's like, oh no, they are very cringeworthy in a lot of their interactions, which kind of works brilliantly. As, the book club there, because there are different clubs, is Captain America, Captain Marvel, and Blade. And it's all actually to service Blade's really entertainingly embarrassing crush on Captain Marvel. And Captain America seems to have picked up on those vibes. And it's like, I mean, if Blade just said we want to be besties, then, he could do it. It's like, no, mate, it's all so awkward.
Is there nothing more awkwardly cringe than Captain America trying to be the wingman?
I know. But yeah, it's been good fun. It's got nice, light kind of gameplay mechanics as far as like weird card game but XCOM kind of stuff, and then in between it's got a big BioWare game type hub where you get to hang out with the characters. So yeah,
this sounds like the best Midnight Sun since the Order of the Triad in Venture Brothers.
I mean, honestly. I will warn you, Morbius is in it, but
excellent. Okay.
Does anyone say the phrase "it's Morbin time"?
So far, no, but I 100% bet they will by the time it's on.
I hope so.
I mean, I'll be honest. This film we just watched is so 2024. I'm surprised that no one said it's Morbin time.
Oh my God.
I'm shocked on that as well. I mean, do you want to?
I need to change my pitch now.
Just a minute, I'll be right back.
Anyway, we're talking about Section 31, or Star Trek: Section 31, which is a film that's had a troubled production history, and we all know those end up going really well. It was, I think, back in Discovery's first season, this was floated as an idea, and it's kind of evolved and changed into what we all have seen in the last 2 days. And I feel we're all recovering. So, before this, what were people's thoughts on Section 31? Now, Miles and I have discussed this at length last episode, but Cele and Sean.
Are we talking about the show Section 31 or Section 31 as a concept?
As a concept.
As a concept.
As a concept.
I admittedly I kind of spent this nickel talking to Miles before the record, but like Section 31 is a lot of why I think a lot of conservative Star Trek fans don't like talking about Deep Space Nine, because the original Section 31 episode of Deep Space Nine aired years before 9/11 and like kind of perfectly predicted how the Patriot Act would go down. And I don't think they like acknowledging that part. And so like I'm going to do my patented Cele doesn't have a like lukewarm hot takes and go, I've not been enjoying modern Treks trying to turn Section 31 into the goodies or the like trying to kind of launder their image. I don't care for it.
There's very much a Hans, are we the baddies vibe to Section 31.
It feels like S.H.I.E.L.D. in Marvel Comics of like the mid-aughts, where there'd been a fun-loving spy team in the 60s and 70s. We started to see more and more, oh no, these guys are really shady, and they're up to no good for the most part. Like, Nick Fury can be all right, but even he is a bit shady. And then suddenly it's, Homeland Defense, it's all of that kind of war on terror stuff of you can't really criticize
even Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Like, even Lower Decks, like, ripped that scab off. I was heartbroken. Like, oof.
So, I mean, you bring that up, but it feels like that's the kind of story I would have rather have seen.
I mean, yeah, fair.
I jumped too far ahead. But, like, yeah, of course, I'm old enough to remember when Deep Space Nine first introduced Section 31. And like I think it was Garrick, someone on the show like nailed it. It's like, well, you know, we have the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order. Of course, Starfleet has their own dark underbelly no one wants to know about. And I'm like, but do they?
Do they?
Do they?
It was Odo, and he was delightfully catchy that entire
It was Odo.
episode.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
I think I didn't see this episode when it on the original BBC broadcast, because at that point I had discovered Babylon 5 and switched teams. And when Babylon 5 introduces the Night Watch, its own sort of slightly shady secret police, the moment Babylon 5 and John Sheridan secede from Earth, they kick those fuckers right out and go, no, get out. We're gonna beat the shit out, literally beat the tar out of you.
This reminds me of so many other things trying to be like edgy, hardcore, and badass. Like, I was gonna say Mass Effect 2, but like even the premise of Mass Effect is like you're part of the official government sanctioned shadow agency, and then you become an even shadowier agency in Mass Effect 2. Or I can't even think of at least like Battlestar Galactica had the decency to like pretend that witch hunts were bad. I don't know.
See, with the culture novels of Ian M. Banks, which is about a perfect socialist, drug-fueled, sex-orgied utopia, which maintains its existence by having the ships with the best names and the biggest guns. All the joke ship names in the culture novels are all the ships have joke names like, I'm sorry you feel that way, or maybe we can talk this out. But the way it kind of also maintains its control is by having an organization called Special Circumstances, who's literally controlled by one of the many AIs that control the culture and the people who live within it, to basically do the dirty work to keep the culture running. But the culture itself is not any less corrupt than any other kind of self-vaunted utopia. Also, those novels are really good.
Yeah.
A spy agency run by an AI. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, we also create a weird timeline for it. 'Cause I'm sure I'm trying to remember Discovery and Section 31 in that. It felt like they were a lot more known at that point.
Yeah, that was weird.
Super weird.
And then, of course, Control, the AI from the future that was evil and controlling all of them and all that. Like, it felt like, okay, is this going to be a do-over? And then eventually we get the William Sadler kind of, like, slightly sinister but more hidden kind of thing. Like when Cyclops' X-Force gets shut down and Wolverine's like, I know I disapproved of this constantly, Bob, but I'm going to start my own version of it because that way I'm in charge. And even he thinks it's not real.
So we all have nice positive feelings on Section 31. I don't think it is like I do belong to the kind of the Grant Morrison school of there are no bad ideas.
Mm-hmm.
There's just bad executions. And I feel you can do something interesting with Section 31. It's just that this ain't it, fam.
Yeah, I know it was not going to be coming in a, like, I wasn't going to be expecting something amazing given our previously mentioned thoughts on Section 31. And then the troubled production, like, even when it was announced as a TV show that was happening, it's like, really? It's like, yeah, and it's going to have Georgiou, the parallel one, the cannibal, like, genocide kind of one, and Ash Tyler, the guy that I really couldn't stand from season 1. And it's like, oh, great, thanks.
Whatever happened to Clem Fandango?
I mean, apparently, up until 2023, he was going to be involved with this, and thought he was, at least.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I'm before we crack on with, like, talking about this, I just want to say, 20 minutes into watching this film, I phoned Cele and said, hey, I owe you an apology.
My wife couldn't decide if she wanted to accept the apology.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I just went on a record when I said to Rihanna, it's like, hey, if you want to not be in the room for this, I don't blame you because I think it's going to be bad. And so she went into the bedroom and watched Pokemon and probably had a much more fun time than me.
Yeah, my partner it's her work from home day and half day on Friday. So I was up in the workroom, figuring I would just watch it on the monitor while taking notes. And she was saying, if you want to use the big screen downstairs, feel free to. I was like, you'll be there. And and yeah, she was like, yeah, fine. So we started, and yeah, she just went upstairs and read a book instead, which does feel like the right move.
What was the book?
I think it was something about witches. I forget what, but yeah. I feel, your wife not even seeing the first 20 minutes, just watching Pokemon probably wins in that respect.
Yeah, because at least with Pokemon, okay, every episode becomes the same after like 6 episodes, but you know what? You're going to have a fun time. Hopefully Wobbuffet turns up, and Team Rocket always delightfully stupid.
Oh god, always.
Sean's just like, I had to protect my family from this.
You're not haunted. That's how I had to make a subversive organization of my own home just to find the time. It's called my basement. Wow. It's dark down here.
Future Charlie here. In all the excitement of having guest stars, I completely forgot to do the credits, so here they are. Star Trek Section 31 aired on the 24th of January 2024, written by Craig Sweeney, directed by Olatunde Osunsami, and the UK and US #1 hits were Gracie Abrams with That's So True, and Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars with Die With A Smile. Frankly, they weren't worth discussing. On with the show. Before we get into actual thoughts or anything like that, we're going to do our recap, and normally for a film it's 10 minutes, but because there are 4 of us covering this and everyone could only take so much, we're going to do a relay. So hopefully the 4 of us can get this wrapped in 10 minutes. We'll see. I know my notes are not great. And I'm going first.
That's a good matchup.
All right. Okay. For points of just pedanticness, Sean, can you set up a stopwatch on
Oh,
your?
absolutely.
Okay. So we'll see who manages to synopsize the most, the quickest.
I like it.
Right, Charlie, your evil mission is to start us synopsizing the evil film Section 31. Okay. Everyone ready?
Ready as I can be.
And engage.
Okay, Fate, who makes the sword, does the forging in advance. Yes, that's how forging works. A blacksmith is hammering in a farm. The Terran Empire is floating above it in big letters. This farming is shit work here, but someone has to do it. Mostly children by the looks of it. But oh wait, the farm's overjoyed. Philippa's back. She's been away for a while doing a whole big Hunger Games thing. Even falling in love with a contestant. Now we're in the top 2. How do they win? Not with the Hunger Games thing, but by murdering her family. Our hero, everyone. Philippa gets the role of Emperor for this and burns her boyfriend / competitor's cheek to show she's the boss now. Then cut. We get Jamie Lee Curtis being Control, who I guess has been redeemed, or a new version of it now, giving a very video game mission briefing. Section 31's lost contact with Philippa Georgiou, and now she's been spotted. There's a MacGuffin in a fancy club she's in charge of. An Alpha squad have to get it. We have a look at the station, which looks like some kind of giant ostentatious brooch with spaceships floating around it. We get a guitar lick that sounds like the start of some kind of YouTube video montage, but it's not, though. It's a desperate hive of scum and villainy. We whip around the bar and various noteworthy people, and then a catty second in command points Georgiou to Alok Sahar. She introduces herself and casually eats an eyeball. She's in a bit of a mood here, acting weirdly more playful than she was back in Discovery. And she and Alok go to her office. She immediately calls him out as a Section 31 agent. She recognises all the other agents, of course. We get a flashback to a few minutes ago as she describes each of the cast. A shapeshifter, but not one of those ones. A Deltan. A mech who's an idiot. A laughing Vulcan and an obnoxious Starfleet person. Section 31 knew who she was pretty much since she started here, so they both know stuff. Section 31 have a mission. They need her to get back in the game and do something interesting, to be who you are, or, keep doing this. And yeah, sure, why not? She goes over to the ship, and yeah, she sees Mel, the Deltan, Zeph, the mech man, who explains he is basically the power suit, Fuzz, who's a tiny alien inside a Vulcan robot suit, which is a weird choice given all the constant laughing and cackling he has, Lieutenant Rachel Garrett, yes, from yesterday's Enterprise, who's by the book like a cartoon version of Cyclops, so no fun to be had here, and finally Quasi is a shapeshifter who overthinks everything. Now after a guy called Dada No? He designs bioweapons. He's looking to sell a super weapon to Minotians who love arms dealing. They explain the plan through a montage. Flash! Like whip zooms all over the place. Alok would seduce Georgiou. Quasi will shapeshift into her. Fuzz will send his nanokin ship into a sleeping Dada's head, rewiring him, which doesn't need those first 2 steps. And then, if he fights back, Zeph will punch him, and then they're done. And Georgiou says, meh, which should never be said at a Star Trek. She's got a simpler plan. She meets Dada No with his weapon in a box and escorts him to his quarters. Miles, go!
As he gets escorted to his quarters, an assailant turns up in a black gimp suit and heavy breathing. They both whip... They both whip, like, Georgiou goes meh and whips out a phase control thingy, which puts her and the box with the bioweapon out of phase with the rest of the universe. Gimp Man pulls out his own phase doohickey, and they have a fight through the walls, through the club. The Section 31 people give chase, and all ends up crashing into the main bar. The Deltan tries to take Gimp Man out, and she promptly gets killed. Oh no! But she was such a vital, member of the team. The Master said Gimp Man gets away, but Georgiou sees the bioweapon and is shocked because she recognizes it. Flashback. Philippa Georgiou is, as Emperor, is hanging out in the mirror universe. San, her boyfriend with the melty face, presents to her basically the most destructive D20 dice in existence. It's called the Godsend. No jokes about the Godsend name, please. And has the power to destroy a quadrant. It turns out all the scientists who made it took poison and died rather than live, and so did San, who dies in Philippa's crying arms. Back on the ship, Alok interrogates Georgiou to find out what she knows about the weapon, and in doing so, he reveals that he's actually an augment from 350 years in the past. It's important to his character. It's not important to us. They interrogate Dadano. He's also from the Mirror Universe. Turns out things have gone to crap since Georgiou left, and so they need to move somewhere else. Hey, we have a tunnel to the main universe, so we're gonna blow some stuff up and then take over, and in the distraction, start taking over the Mirror Universe. Their ship is destroyed, and Dadano is killed. Oh no, there's a mole on the team. On a planet of a lot of just kind of gas explosions, they're trapped. They're trapped there for pretty much most of the film, and they need to get off the planet. There's a garbage scow, so they split into two teams. One team go and fix the scow. The other team try and send a message to Section 31, and it turns out there's a missing part to the antenna. Wait a second. Is Zeph the mole? The two teams come back together and go in search of Zeph. Go.
All right. Zeph is dead. Oh no! What is this? Suicide Squad? Plus, I mean, he can't be the mole if he's dead, right? And everyone was inside of everyone else the whole time, right? If only there was some way that one of them... You know what? Let's never mind. The plot thickens. Thick, like congealed cooking grease in a frying pan. Who is the most sus in this game? This real-life game of Among Us? Obviously, it's tightwad Lieutenant Garrett. What? What a twist! She doesn't even deny it when accused of liking Mecha Boom Boom, but absolutely refuses to admit she killed Zeph. No need. They got the footage of Zeph's last moments, acting weird for no apparent reason. If only there was someone who could alter the operation of it. You know what? It's a complete mystery. It could be anyone. Besides, we don't want to deprive Georgiou of her hero moment, and as she realizes who the killer is. Fuzz! Dun dun dun! He can get into small spaces and mess with the operation of biomechanical implants. He can also set his Irish Vulcan suit on autopilot. Zeph's suit committed the crime, and he disposed of the evidence and framed Garrett with a single strand of hair. Except he's also able to control Zeph's mech suit remotely too. Whoopsies! So what follows is a chase scene that is too shaky to make sense of, but the most important thing is that as Georgiou goes in for the kill on Fuzz, so to speak, he seems to know way too much about her history and San in specific. How? Because there's currently a portal open to the Mirror Universe, and San is still alive! Dun dun dun! It turns out that he Dread Pirate Roberts his way into inoculating himself from the poison that apparently killed him. Inconceivable! And he's been lurking nearby this whole time and teleports away with what's left of Fuzz and his Vulcan suit. Now that we've established that we're in the early 24th century, well, maybe Terrence just have good genetics, because San's got to be like 80 years old, right? Like it's implied he was the masked man who stole the Godsend. You know, the Gimp. It should have been obvious in retrospect, really. But he must be really fit for an old dude. No, he looks the same. He looks the exact same for some reason. No sense dwelling on it really, because the crew of lovable scamps commandeer that garbage scow and make chase. The hero ship, as prophesized in the intro, has joined the chat. No weapons and barely any shields, but they have the tractor bubble for hauling garbage that Georgiou juices up with the engines. And Cele, go!
All right, so our gang is tracking down the Sans ship. He's got his little buddy Fuzz with him. The ship looks like something out of Mass Effect, so it's Garbage Scow versus the Mass Effect ship. They go into this scary storm in space to find that little portal to get over to the Mirror Universe. And just when I'm trying to make sense of all of this in the first place, they start taking some hits from photon torpedoes fired by Fuzz, who's just laughing up the whole thing. He's having a good old time. But they get close enough. They manage to... there's a whole bunch of technobabble to explain why they're able to do this, but eventually, who needs a transporter room? They just transport Georgiou and... They just transport Georgiou and Alok, like, right over.
We missed it.
Yeah, I missed it. It's all right.
All right. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Right. I'm going to start my stopwatch to see how long we run over. And Cele, finish.
So they fight. They show up on the bridge of the Mass Effect ship. Georgiou versus San, Alok versus Fuzz, but it's not really Fuzz. Fuzz sent out his little tiny alien guy to fly around and go bother our guys on the garbage scow. Meanwhile, Garrett has decided that she's actually we have Tendi at home is her personality. She didn't have that before, but now it is. And she decides that she's a big old science nerd, and there's this talking toy in the garbage scow, and she's like, if I leak something on the battery, it'll become an explodomophile. So with their improvised explosive device powered by the battery in a children's toy, I love this movie so much. She and I'm never going to remember Quasi's name. She and Quasi launch the improvised explosive device at the Mass Effect ship, setting it off and finally and seemingly blowing up our buddy Fuzz in the process. Even though, Alok's been fighting Robo Fuzz. Finally, we have an end to the fight between San and Georgiou, and I'm not actually entirely sure why their fight stopped, but he dies, and Georgiou acts really sad about it, which is, again, extremely weird, all things considered. And at first it's like, oh no, now that we've defeated the boring bad guy, what are we going to do? The Godsend is all armed and ready to go, and it looks like we're doing the, that classic sci-fi trope of being redeemed by killing yourself, and that Alok and Georgiou are gonna just blow up with the ship and end the little portals of the mirror universe. But they don't. They're fine. They get beamed over. Everything's fine. They're fine. So we cut a little bit later, and the whole surviving gang show up at Georgiou's little casino cabaret bar in space again, and they're like, how do you feel about putting a team back together? And of course, Garrett is, like, shockingly on board for their clandestine operations. And then they're like, by the way, Jamie Lee Curtis is Control now. Here's her cameo. Let's set up for the cabaret bar to actually be a spaceship. No refunds. And
yeah, and thus a new wonderful Star Trek franchise was born.
Philippa Georgiou will return in Philippa Georgiou Against the World Crime League.
Oh my lord.
Okay, so we were 2 minutes 56 seconds, and it's okay. I also forgot that Quasi really existed, because every time I looked at him, I was like, they really wanted Kenan Thompson for this.
They really did.
No, that makes the most sense.
Like, look, like everyone looks like budget someone else. Like, at first, I thought Zeph was budget, Chris Hemsworth. Then I realized he's budget James Corden. If James Corden had, like, the Kumail Nanjiani bulk up regimen from Marvel, and that was why I found him inherently punchable.
And he had a robot suit that looked like it belonged in a canon film from the 1980s. Like, that was a cyborg suit. That was not a... I'm just gonna say right now, the thing that everyone is thinking... when this became a movie, because we know the troubled production history, it was supposed to be a show at one point, but when they edited it into a movie, I think the main reason this is on Paramount Plus was that someone at Paramount looked at it and said, Jesus Christ, we cannot release this in a theater. This is horrible.
I mean, January is traditionally where you either get things for Oscars or just like shit that you need out and gone and done. And this feels like the age of streaming. We've brought it to streaming platforms as well. It's fuck you, it's January just for Star Trek, sadly.
If this were on HBO Max, Zaslav would have had it destroyed as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
I'm not typically a fan of that, but in this case, maybe it would have been for the best. I want Willow back, damn it!
I want Infinity Train back.
I want to see that Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
I want to see Acme versus Wile E. Coyote.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there was a film which is going to be Acme, which is going to be Wile E. Coyote sues Acme because all their products they send him are bad, and it was apparently like a really good film. It was
Will Forte was in it.
It was
Will
going to be
Forte
like
was in it.
It was going to be like it was a live action animation kind of Who Framed Roger Rabbit style film.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Everyone who saw it said it was good.
I want it. Dang it!
Wow, I think we just broke Sean more right now than we did by implying that he wants to buy a Cybertruck.
Wow. That takes a lot. Yeah. So, like, I admit, I wrote myself a list of questions before I started watching of, like, is this a good movie? Is it a good Star Trek? Do they do anything to talk about Section 31's place in the Federation? How many references will there be? Are there any Guardians of the Galaxy style needle drops? And will it be a Mass Effect again? And like a lot of these, I feel I could have predicted the answers for. The needle drop thing was the only one I think I failed at.
For the record, listeners, I did not see Charlie's list. I had no way of knowing that he was also thinking about Mass Effect going into this. So the Mass Effect ship was like, oh, okay.
I've seen Picard. I've seen, like, Discovery Season 2. They keep doing Mass Effect. And I love Mass Effect, but I don't get why they've literally only played one game.
There was Mass Effect 2 in this one because Georgiou was obviously Aria and Omega. That's fine.
Yeah.
Fine, but at least they've spread their horizons a little bit.
God. And the Hunger Games thing, that was a surprise. Of the Terrans just do a Hunger Games to decide who will be Emperor. Because
that makes sense. That kind of makes sense.
No. Remember, as we've established it back in Mirror Mirror, the Terran Empire is really dumb. Because their entire military power based on you kill a guy above you and everyone goes up in rank. So everyone is treacherous and scheming. And even in that episode, Mirror Spock goes, this is not a good model for an empire. So I totally buy there being a Hunger Game to make a random person emperor. Is it dumb? Yes. Do I buy it? Yes.
Also, yes.
I mean,
look, it's not the dumbest thing I've seen in a sci-fi show. Where in going back to Babylon 5, there is a race of people called the Drazi who every couple of years have a big fight because either you are wearing a purple sash or you're wearing a green sash, and there's your holy war.
Oh, God.
Big outdoor fight.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that when we got to the Hunger Games sequence, part of me was worried that someone had pulled an elaborate trick on me to get me to watch Rebel Moon. For a second there, I was like, what?
I think I said to you when I phoned up to apologize, only about 20 minutes in, if I was playing the drinking game and I took a shot for either every kind of trope or cliche I have seen done before, Peter O'Toole, in his most drinking problem prime, would look down at my drunken corpse, look over to Oliver Reed, and go, I think that boy needs to switch to water.
I mean, so the writer and the director have both done Discovery episodes, and this felt different from, like, visually, the direction felt like they were trying to do a lot, but it was ultimately just a mess. There were so many, like, whip zooms and, like, that slightly shaky kind of, oh, we're looking at these people in more of a handheld thing. It felt like they wanted it to be a more, like, heist-ish, oh yeah, we've got all this energy, and yeah, it still felt like a sci-fi movie from like the Sci-Fi era, like the Sci-Fi channel.
Yeah,
I was shocked. I was shocked to find out how many people from Discovery worked on the creative side of this. Because if you would have told me no one paid any attention to what happened on Discovery, I would have believed you.
100%.
I absolutely would have believed you.
Like, it's like, yeah, I was watching, like, they do the thing, which, like, oh yeah, we're going to detail how the heist is going to go on our heads, and then we're going to subvert it. Comedic, like, I've seen Ocean's 11. Ocean's 11 came out quite a while ago. I think we're on Ocean's 14. I have seen these films. Sometimes when sci-fi briefly gets popular on British TV, either BBC or ITV will try and cash in, and they'll try and, like, Battlestar Galactica or Lost or Buffy, and it's clearly that they always give the show to people who have never seen science fiction before and think that they're doing something new and innovative. It's like, no, you're doing all the hype. This is all the hype. This is every single predictable cliche. It's like, oh, okay, will the bad guy turn out to be, the person she scarred at the start of the film? Yes. Will it all turn out to have been Philippa Georgiou's fault? Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything, like, original? Not even to Star Trek, but is there anything original in this film?
Yeah, there was a friend I was on a phone call with a few hours ago who was asking, should I see it? Like, as a Star Trek fan, should I see it? I was like, in good conscience, like, no. Like, it was like, how much Star Trek is there? It's like, well, you see an Andorian in the background at one point. There's a laughing maniac who kind of wears a Vulcan body, but all of the giggling, like, you can tell that it's not necessary.
There's one of the half white, half black guys.
Emma thought that was just a weird bit there of, like, oh, this feels lazy. I was like, no, that is actually from the 60s.
That is the thing.
That's from Star
Trek. But the thing is, they're all dead. That was the metaphor of the episode.
Whoopsie!
Although, to be fair, given how catty, and I'll be honest, Charlie, you know how last week I said Section 31 in Discovery is made up of the catty Starbucks shift supervisors?
Yeah.
Same energy right there with the MC.
Okay.
I think I've worked with them during Frappuccino Happy Hour, and it was not a fun experience.
No, I can see how, they'd be very funny in their own head.
Look, I'm funny in my own head, and I found half these people insufferable.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I ended up making notes under each of them, and well, sorry, almost all of them. Mel v. Delton got some lines of dialogue, not many.
She had to shave her head for this, I think. It seemed like it was actually shaved.
And I think I saw in an interview she learned to fight as well. It's like, I kind of want to put that into practice now, because...
Hey, you know what? If you have to go through some weird exercise, like, hey, look again, Kumail Nanjiani went from, like, 0 to beefcake because of Eternals. I don't know if he's maintained that physique, but you know what? If you got it and you got paid to do it, flaunt it.
Absolutely.
Okay, one question.
Yeah,
the Oirish accent.
Oh God.
On a level of 1 to Jacksepticeye. How irritating did you find it?
Oh my god. I've done similar terrible accents in role-playing games, and this is why these days I stick to like 1 of 2, maybe 3 accents, because it's just terrible.
I think my Melanie Cogs Blimey, whatever stupid name I came up with the first time I was on Casual Trek, was a better accent than that accent.
Yep. Oh god.
Like, okay, now who was the frosted tips? Was that a script note or was that a design choice? And the costumer went, "Hey, what if we gave a Vulcan frosted wing tips? What if we gave him like the most 90s? Let's give him the haircut Pacey has in season 2 of Dawson's Creek."
Oh god.
Oh, that was rough. Yeah, it was an incredible haircut, and I mean that in the worst way. Like, what on earth? Like, so many choices were made with that actor and that character, because they come back later on as well as
I forgot to mention, that it comes back as the wife in the...
Who
with a cowboy accent this time.
Who makes 2 robots with frosted tips? 2 Vulcan frosted tip robots.
So with some real specific sexual needs.
That's supposed to be a spy. That's supposed to not stick out.
Okay. Who? First of all, who equated this to a canon film? Which of you did that?
That was me. That was me.
I think this was, in its own way, this was a canon film, because I think most of the decisions being made on a design, editing, writing, and filming choice can be summed up with the following sound effect. Oh god, my nose is bleeding.
Well, did you guys also notice they ran out of money for extras after they left the cabaret club? Because everywhere after that, it's just big, open expanses of nowhere with fire farting out of the ground and
So much of it is on that planet with that kind of, we've landed here, no one else is around, we're bickering, and you're supposed to be doing a fucking heist. I love heists. It would have redeemed so much if there was actual heisting happening.
And how big was Sans, like a big old a Mass Effect ship? It looked like it was huge, but there were 2 guys on it.
Look, you know how like heists and spy films have like multiple locations. Like glamorous locales, like exciting vistas,
like places and people and things.
Places and people to go. This reminded me of a spy film I saw from an episode of MST3K called Agent for Harm, which was also a pilot for a TV series that surprisingly not got picked up, where most of the film is the titular agent from Harm just hanging around a beach house, setting up Home Alone style traps that kill people.
You're making it sound better than it is.
You know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for Michelle Yeoh, who apparently was like a driving force.
Oh, she fought for
throw her under the bus, unless they're trying to make this her fault.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Did she write it? No.
She did her damnedest.
She did. This is the Jodie Whittaker factor. Like, she's going to get blamed for it, but it's like, no, the people who are making the decisions, the people like every producer, every writer, the director who took a big fat line of coke and went, yeah, sure, let's go with it.
You know what was also a bummer was like there were the moments of okayitude would be like that in the first act when you have the fight scene with the gimp suit, that where you get a little bit of, oh hey, it's Michelle doing the wuxia stuff that she got famous for. That's really fun while that lasts.
And then it was all over,
Like the bit with when they're phased through in a different reality and they're just chasing each other through the hotel. Like, that was fun. That had energy. That was an interesting like use of like science and technobabble to make an action sequence kind of pop.
Because the fight at the end of the movie did not have that energy.
No.
It didn't have that
no.
choreography. It was just no.
Now,
Nope.
you were saying, Cele, that you weren't quite sure how that ended, which I think Sam accidentally gets his throat cut or gets stabbed, lethally injured, and dies just at the point where Georgiou's like, no, I shouldn't kill you and be a tyrant. Right. Oh no, he's conveniently dead.
Okay.
Oh well.
Every time, okay, I don't know about you. Every time she was trying to do we don't have to do this. I immediately thought it was going to be followed up by Georgiou snapping his neck. Because, because given the character we've seen, there was no point where any of her pleas to find a better way felt genuine.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't like there was a turnaround really with this. It was just that kind of, we've hit this beat, so obviously by now she's going to have figured out maybe don't be an arsehole.
I know that what that reminds me of. Star Wars Rogue One.
Best Star Wars?
First time I saw it, I enjoyed it. But I was kind of just on the fence. Then I ended up seeing it in the cinema twice more to kind of just wrap my head around why I'm not finding this perfect. And then I realized, the problem is Jin's arc goes from, point A to point D, where for point A, she's not going to get involved. It's okay if you don't look up. And then point D, she's throwing her life away for the cause. But we never really see the moments where points B and C occur, where she goes from I don't care, I don't get involved, to ride or die for the rebellion.
That was in the first draft of the film.
That was in the first draft of the film. But it's it's still, even for a great film like Rogue One, you need to have, if you're going to have a character arc, you need to see the points where the character shifts and changes.
Well, while we're talking about the character arc, I think that's the biggest problem we have with Georgiou throughout this entire thing, is that, so if you haven't seen Discovery, you are introduced to this character with her murdering her family for the Hunger Games discounted version. Yeah. But if you know Discovery, there's almost nothing for you here either, because there's no acknowledgement of what being on the Discovery did for her. She doesn't even mention Burnham in passing. The fact that the last time we saw her on Discovery, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I double checked this, so I'm pretty sure I'm right. She met up with the Guardian of Forever and was supposed to be a time agent, and apparently she just fucked off to run a cabaret after that. So if you cared about any of that stuff from Discovery, there's nothing for you. But if you don't know that stuff from Discovery, there's none of this will make any sense. Who is this character?
She'd changed and evolved through Discovery because they realized they could get Michelle Yeoh on for more episodes. So she went from omnicidal kind of cannibal maniac emperor to Spike, basically. To kind of, hey, I'm antagonistic and I'm going to be a bit of a dick, but I'm your guys' dick here.
She even actually says that kind of in the movie itself when she's talking to Alok about that. What they find her useful for.
Yeah. The end where they're having their discussion around the table in was it Baram? I kept writing barroom, and I'm pretty sure that's how they came up with it. In Baram, where they're like, "Hey, you might kill us at any time." She's like, "Yeah, I might." They're like, "Yeah, we're all laughing at this now." It's like, you have met her, you know her history.
That is a point where I'm like, check, please.
Yeah, and there was a point. There were 2 points I had to rewind with this film. The last one was where they were bickering, as they want to do, zooming out. Did anyone else see? No one's mouths were moving when it panned and zoomed out. It was all just ADR.
No,
and
I did not.
I missed it.
I'd already written in my notes pretty much right away. It's so the Vulcan as far as the traitor of it, and then when you like the ominous, oh yeah, the Vulcan bodies wandering around, and like the moment that he was speaking robotically instead of cackling like an idiot.
Right.
So yeah, he did it, obviously.
Yeah.
It's so... Yeah, well, it's like, it's either the Vulcan or the Legacy character. Okay, so it's the fake Vulcan.
See, I briefly thought that maybe they were going to do a switcheroo and have it be mirror Rachel Garrett.
Yeah, go like, this wasn't Rachel Garrett at all. It's someone entirely different, and this explains why she's acting very much as a completely different character.
Well, she wasn't even a consistent character in the movie itself. It's I am a stick in the mud, and then Georgiou says, "You're a chaos gremlin," and then actually I'm Tendi. Yeah, it's like, actually the main character told me I'm a chaos gremlin. Now I'm Tendi/Tilly at home, I guess. Yep.
Timu Tendi has been stuck in my brain since you first mentioned it.
Yeah, the words Chaos Goblin should never, like, they feel dated now. They feel like the most 2024 phrase in the first month of 2025.
I think, like, now I get why in the world of Star Trek in the 90s, human culture stops by about the 1950s. Like, where you have, like, Tom Paris' obsession, like, 1950s muscle cars and 1930s Republic serials, and you have like Riker's love of jazz, because that's far away. You can go, oh, that's kind of oldie timey, because the moment you have the characters talk about anything which feels entirely modern or speaking in a relatively modern vernacular, it just feels so out of place.
Or the captain praises this great inventor who's actually just a dipshit from South Africa Nazi. You know, it could be one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have Garrett in this at all. Like, I thought it was to help anchor it in time, but there is, apart from mentioning that Alec is like 350 years out of his time, there's no mention of what period they're in. There's no visual indication. There's a tricorder sound. That's it.
Yeah,
the tricorders they had looked like smartphones.
Yeah, that was rough. I wasn't keen on those. Yeah, I saw people saying, actually, the phasers look like a really nice middle step between original series ones and the TNG ones, and looking at photos of them, yeah, that looks all right. Why does your tricorder look like a smartphone?
I don't recall what the phasers even look like. I don't like. They didn't stick in my brain at all. I didn't even see them.
Nothing. The production design was nothing. Nothing sticks with me.
Like, with the exception of, I would say, some of the costumes.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. The unification, the space cabaret bar we see in Unification has more flair and life, and like that awesome, the awesome piano singer who Worf totally fails to get off with, who has like 3 arms. There we go, brilliant.
Right.
You know, there you had the opera singer. I'm just like, it's Fifth Element. You're doing
Right.
the opera. It's
Right.
the opera singer from Fifth
Someone had
Element.
just seen Fifth Element and said, "Remember this old movie?" But you don't.
Someone watched Fifth Element while doing like all the cocaine, and when I want the blue space alien opera singer, and we're going to film it in an actual place. No, you're not. You can't afford the Duke. You can't afford this theater in London where they filmed this part of the Fifth Element. It's just, and then there's the part of the film which annoyed me the most.
Oh yeah,
the banter.
Yeah.
Oh, the banter.
Like I have never so desperately wanted to murder Joss Whedon with a trowel. Like I have with the whole God send, God's end.
Oh my god.
Like, that was the nadir of witty that was the point when my wife says she heard me scream, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, because it was so tedious.
And they kept going back to it.
Yeah.
It was so tedious because the other thing it does, it completely undercuts the stakes of what is going on.
Right.
Because it would be like if, say, in Star Trek 2, when they mentioned that Genesis could destroy an entire planet, like McCoy just has one joke and just won't shut up about it. And you're just like, you're completely undercutting all the tension because your characters aren't going, oh shit, we should pull the finger out because we've got a bomb that looks like a giant D20 that could destroy a quadrant.
We've got, 4 hours and we've just discovered there's a mole. Let's have some banter.
Yeah.
Like, again, that thing of the D20 that could blow up a quadrant. How many galaxy-destroying things do there need to be? It just...
12.
It felt... 12. We must be at 12 by now.
I've lost
Like, every season of Discovery, every season of Picard, and this. Like, there seem to be so many galaxy-ending things that it feels like a really unimaginative MCU pitch meeting.
It's the same like with modern Doctor Who, when you have like each season ends with a world-destroying big bad threat. If that's what you go to every season, it's gonna feel stale after the third Dalek invasion of Earth in the present day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're stuck with this, like this. Well, and by the time they introduce the Godsend into the story, you have the added thing of, okay, I don't care about these characters. I don't particularly care about the stakes. We're halfway through the movie. We've just set up what the big weapon is, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to care about here. And also you're in a prequel timeline, so I'm pretty sure you're not going to blow up the universe. So we're
right.
Yeah.
What are we going for here, guys?
I mean,
God, I've just seen another line that I forgot about, because I wrote down some key phrases.
Okay.
Because we've had... Yeah, don't worry, you're here for a reason. You're a little chaos goblin too. We also have chaos is my friends with benefits.
I'll be honest.
I didn't hate that one though. I didn't hate it.
Yes.
I didn't hate it.
It
was nice, and I didn't like it on the character, but I didn't hate it.
Okay.
It would be a better line in a different film.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
also, while there wasn't that just happened.
Oh,
I was shocked. I was shocked there wasn't. There was this is great instead, which is almost to that bad in how just it's how utterly lazy this was.
I like that the shapeshifter was a Venom. Like, he would do, weird, freaky... I don't actually like it. I'm being facetious. I'm like, yeah, wonderful. You have a shapeshift. We have established how shapeshifters work in this universe, and you can't even be bothered because you want to have him do Venom things.
Isn't it also a shapeshifter that we see in Star Trek 6?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like...
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
It's not established.
Eyes.
It's for the inevitable things you didn't notice about Star Trek Section 31 of the 27 YouTube videos we're going to get.
I mean, at least they didn't fuck it up and go, this is a Dominion shapeshifter when this is before any of that.
Right.
But still, God.
And then there was Zeph.
Okay, so I will say, Zeph. Okay, there were a couple of lines where I was like, "This guy's a fucking idiot." I kind of like some of the fact that he is an idiot. Like you were saying, James Corden. I was thinking it's like someone made a buff Leo Woodall. It's like, okay, I'm down for an idiot being here, but he outstayed his welcome way too quickly.
Why do you have the most conspicuous idiot on your covert spy team?
Well, it felt like they were a punishment almost. This is not Section 31 that we have seen before. This is, oh fuck, we need somewhere to put these people.
This
Say, you mean some kind of suicide squad?
No. It's the Cardiff branch of Torchwood.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's where they
yeah.
put
This is
everyone
Torchwood 3. Okay, yeah.
It's where they put everyone too horny or too stupid to be in London. Just
Right.
send them off to Cardiff.
Right. This is after Torchwoods 1 and 2 went dark, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
good lord. No, I couldn't stand, like, when they were trying to, like, introduce the characters and make them endearing, they had another goal, man, because they excused Zeph by saying he has mecha dysphoria, which doesn't seem like it's a very friendly thing to say, or like Fuzz screeching at the scale shamers. I'm like, who are you trying to communicate with right now with this stuff?
See,
Because
here's
it
the
ain't
thing.
me.
They had Fuzz be Irish, so they could just they had him go, he's Zeph, he's a fucking Egypt, and I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. I now get their relationship. I get their relationship. He's gonna call him an idiot, but at least they're friendly because he's Irish and call him a fucking Egypt. But no, we just have.
We get so little ties between each of them. Like, Mel dying means that Quasi, the changeling, is kind of, he's indecisive normally, and she shakes him out of it. That's the only real relationship that Quasi seems to have with people. And, like, Alok is so dull. So very, very dull.
But he's brooding.
I was forced into being an augment. Yeah.
I'm not a bad guy. I was made to be a bad guy.
Okay, what would have been interesting if it was he was an augment, but not from 350 years ago. But what if what if Section 1 had just experimented with having an augment agent?
That's
Some
what
kind of
we're going with that.
soldier.
Yeah.
Yes, because then you would have a guy who's like, yeah, I have been built to defend a society which sees me as like the next coming of Napoleon.
Yeah.
They could have tied that into the stuff that's been happening on Strange New Worlds, and they didn't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That would have been a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you mentioned when you mentioned the dozens of YouTube videos, like of explaining this and some of the stuff that we were just talking about with like the bad characterization and stuff, I feel like I'm gonna have to address the elephant in the room, pun very much intended. This is a movie that was put out to die, but one of the worst things about it is that it is absolutely a dog shit movie. But the people who are going to be the most vocal about this on social media, they are going to be the people complaining about the woke or the DEI, because they're going to be so upset that all of the main characters in this film you have are all people of color and women, and even like you could argue that there's some they might be trying in a really stupid way to do some sort of trans allegory with Wisp, Fuzz's wife, at the end of the thing, and that is what these people are going to latch onto. And even like the whole, and now they're using the buzzwords, they're saying dysmorphia and scalism. It's like, it's all of this stuff that was probably put in there by an idiot writer to say, hey, right-wing people, we're not trying to alienate you. But they're going to call it cringe, and people with taste are going to call it a piece of shit too, because it's a bad movie, and the worst kind of people are going to just latch onto this as proof that the woke are bad, because it has minorities in main roles. And I think that's the salt in the wound of all of this, is it's a bad movie, and people aren't going to focus on that it is so sanitized that it can't appeal to anyone. People aren't going to focus on the fact that it is very much trying to take something that was meant to be a critique of right-wing neoliberal military organizations and how necessary evil they are. All of the stuff that all of the actual writing problems and things are going to get thrown under the bus, and it is going to be blamed on the woke, as usual. And the bunch of straight white dudes behind the camera or who wrote the script are going to get off scot-free. And that's the thing that like is the salt in the wound of this god awful movie.
Well,
what about Olatunde Osunsumi, who's like the producer and the director?
I mean, yeah,
So-
that's true. We got
he's someone that's been very good at getting a lot more diversity in Discovery. And
that's
and
true.
being
That's true.
someone in the forefront of that. It's just he directs this terribly, and like
He's not a good director, and it sucks.
And he's the executive producer of the new upcoming Starfleet Academy show.
I mean,
And I
hopefully
want that to be good. I want
Yeah.
that to be good so desperately.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple of fun activities, but first, I feel we should place this on the big list.
Oh no!
Now, just to explain
boy.
to people, we have a big list of best to worst movies and episodes of Star Trek. It's currently standing at 147 entries. We have in the number one spot Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, a very good Star Trek movie. Down to number 50, we have Deep Space Nine's The Assignment, where Keiko gets possessed by a Par Wraith and O'Brien has a really bad day, more so than his usual bad days, of which I assume most of his are. At 100, we have the original series is What Are Little Girls Made Of, which the answer of which is robots. And then
Sorry.
yeah, no, and finally in 147 we have Star Trek the original series with Plato's stepchildren, with a lot of prating about, a lot of bad amdram, and non-consensual amdram of all things, which is the worst kind. So I'm not scrolling up for this one. I'm leaving my screen here in the bottom, like, 20 odd? Because I can't imagine it would be much higher.
I'll be honest. Plato's Stepchildren is 147. Where you've put this on the spreadsheet as kind of is in waiting is at 151. So
That's to give wiggle room.
I'm good with that.
Well, we'll just have these three gaps.
Well,
A preemptive 151st place.
Well, don't worry. By our next episode, we'll have filled those gaps with 3 episodes of hopefully good Star Trek.
Hopefully. So, yeah, just as a reminder, was this a good unit of Trek? We often talk about units of Trek.
Yeah.
I feel no.
No,
No,
not remotely.
No.
like
Was it a good movie if you didn't look at it as a Star Trek movie?
No.
No.
no one would look at it if Star Trek wasn't on the title. Like, no.
Yeah, like I was watching the franchise in the last few weeks, which is HBO's kind of behind the scenes of an MCU type thing, which
I like
Armando Iannucci was part of, was involved with, and this feels entirely like a production they would be making of so much. Like, I owe this to Jessie Gender, who was talking about it, but so much of it is just people talking in a circle because they've got one of those round LCD backdrop things, and just let's exposit in a wide vista where there's just stuff and nothing.
Where the planet
nothing
farts fire.
Like this would be an 80s New World Pictures Roger Corman produced movie if Roger Corman was an idiot as well as cheap.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he was having a bit of a low day, if he, if there wasn't going to put any effort in.
I mean, okay, fine. The explosions, like the little fire plumes on planet Brighton at night, because that's what the lighting tint reminded me of.
Wow.
Just like it, yeah.
Do you guys think they were trying to do some kind of like live action Lower Decks? Because what tipped me off was the flippin' Furby. And maybe it's just because I've been watching a lot of Bluey, but I liked the Furby at first. And then I'm like, no, this isn't going to redeem anything. And then I was like, this is it. I think they're trying to do live action here.
I did write down, are they trying to do Moopsy again?
Yes.
God, if only. That would have had some
Oh,
life.
God.
I don't
But
know.
it's like they don't understand why people like Lower Decks in this context. It's not because they're kooky, specifically. It's because in the end, it's still about Star Trek, and this had none of that.
Yeah.
The surprise for me with Lower Decks was that it can be as referential and snarky, but also still hold true to the heart of it all. And this did not have that heart.
During some of the banter, I actually remember leaning into my wife, doing my best H Bomber guy voice and going, I too have seen Guardians of the Galaxy. I too
I'll be honest. This makes me feel a lot better about Peanut Hamper.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's... that also helps guide where we are on the list, as 141 on here was a mathematically perfect redemption featuring Peanut Hamper.
I was going to say, when you were going over the list, Charlie, I was like, it's really nice of you to name all of these Star Treks that are better than the movie we watched.
Yeah. Okay, so are we saying this is literally the worst Star Trek? Out of what we've covered so far. There may be
In
worse.
name only.
Okay. Wow.
That hurts.
Yeah. Yeah,
That really
but
hurts.
that's all right. That's all right. We've changed up what's the top and what's the bottom a few times, so it's always quite nice to be able to talk about something new when we're saying what's the top and bottom.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But with that out the way, we have one big thing to do. But before that, I wanted to go around here and present a challenge to everyone.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Can each of us say one positive thing about this with no duplication between us? So can we find 4 positive things between us about this movie?
The electric blue wig and makeup they had Rachel Garretton in like both club scenes was pretty sexy.
Yeah, it was very Mila Jovovich, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, at least Philippa Georgiou learns and announces that there's no such thing as a benevolent dictator.
Yep. That's good.
I like wuxia movies where people use like cloth as a weapon. It's very Nurja core. So it was really cool seeing Philippa Georgiou get to use cloth as a weapon. Like it was like a Peking opera production of Nurja, and I thought that was cool.
Nice.
I never thought I would see Jamie Lee Curtis in a Star Trek. I still haven't seen Jamie Lee Curtis in a Star Trek.
How weird. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Furby.
You're gonna go with the Furby?
I'm going with the Furby. It was I don't know if I enjoyed the entire like Chaos Goblin arc being on Garrett specifically, but it wasn't that bad. Some of the lines were good. It's because of Bluey. I'm sorry.
The toy was a surprise with the way that it started talking like the tiny little Starmie in the Super Mario Bros. Movie about like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna die, and all that kind of thing. Although dangerous toys that if you just do stuff with it explodes. Like I was a child in the 1980s in England. We had a lot of toys that would go on fire if left too near to a radiator or anything like that, or things with lead in them. So
Charlie,
I accept that a toy would be like that.
As a child, did you nearly choke to death on a Manta Force?
I can't believe I know what you're talking about. Thank you, Transformers Reviews Done Quick.
I didn't choke on one, but I've certainly been wounded by Manta Force multiple times as a child.
Did you try?
Charlie, are you one of the kids who ruined Shogun Warriors for the rest of us? You have to tell us.
Did you try and eat a boglin?
I mean, who didn't? Really?
Back in my day, we released toys of anime robots that you couldn't actually get the anime for in America, and they had spring-loaded missiles that could blind a child.
Oh
No,
god, yeah.
Motzinger, child. You will never see him again.
Wow. So, okay, so we can come up with some compliments for this dog shit movie, which is good. You know, it shows that we can be kind.
We can find a shining light, even if this shining light is a tiny, grimy light bulb.
Yeah, we are benevolent reviewers. So, before watching this movie, Miles set us all a challenge. And that challenge was to come up with our own alternate pitches for Section 31. And specifically, I think we all chose to write our pitches before seeing the wonder that is Section 31 and therefore having it intrude on what we wanted. This was to involve Section 31, which, frankly, the film didn't really feel like it did. Not really as far as asking any of the questions or covering what is a Section 31, why is a Section 31 or anything. And also Michelle Yeoh would be there, because, you know, who doesn't want to use Michelle Yeoh in something? So, we have 4 of us, each with our own pitches. Who wishes to go first?
I feel like since I was the one who set the challenge, I should go first.
Oh, good. And afterwards, should we all say whether or not this film is approved or rejected? As, you know, green light it or not?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
All right. Section 31. Good men die first. Section 31 is a secret organization tasked with ensuring the protection and survival of the Federation, doing the things the Federation could be seen as complicit in when tasked with factoring in its own safety. Section 31 is also a Black Ops wing of the Starfleet. Its true function is as a way to safely contain and control those in Federation society and Starfleet ranks who could be deemed as dangerous, as misfit, or as people who think and operate in ways antithetical to the entire society. People like Philippa Georgiou, an outcast from a despotic alternate universe where she was its brutal dictator. People like Ston, a Vulcan whose approach to logic sees him willing to undertake some terrible acts for the greater good. People like Carleen Danforth, one of the few human telepaths, derived from advanced alien technology implanted into her brain, allowing her to read, store, and transmit people's entire minds, also giving her the power of perfect recall. We begin with Georgiou seemingly back in the Mirror Universe, in the final stages of leading a revolution against the Terran Empire. This is our big explosive opening sequence. We got fights, some spaceship battles, and Georgiou killing the new Emperor. But just the point where we expect her to dissolve the Empire, Georgiou declares herself Emperor again and has the revolutionaries gunned down where they stand. Computer, off! She's in a primitive holodeck, similar to the one we saw in Inquisition, but very much a far cry from the type we will see in the 90s. This was a test. Again. Georgiou complains that she's tired of being tested again and again without her knowledge. Her Section 31 handler, a man calling himself Oberon Munt, tells Georgiou the truth. She's ultimately untrustworthy. Whatever some advances she may have made in learning to grow as a human are limited and based mostly around Michael Burnham, and that while she has a heart now, she's now the worst kind of monster, a monster with a heart. Her prior actions with Section 31, hell, her entire life has proven that she is antithetical to the entirety of Federation society, and that it might just be for the best if you were just kept locked away, drugged, and just sent to a location like Elbert 2. But not right now. Right now, Oberon Munt has a mission for her. There are reports of Romulans infiltrating areas of the Federation Starfleet by pretending to be Vulcans. Georgiou and her team, selected for her by Section 31, are going to hunt down these moles with someone who has very special abilities in the ways of disguising themselves. Even people like Garth of Izar, an insane military commander with shape-changing abilities who can only be kept in the line of the most special of the drugs. Munt tells Georgiou that Garth isn't just here as a master of disguise, he's also a warning to Georgiou about what happens if she doesn't stay in line. If she's too dangerous to live, she's going to spend the rest of her life in drug-induced passivity. Garth's shape-changing powers only really work when he's off his insane begone meds that we saw in TOS, and so when he's on a mission, he's a crazed loose cannon at times. Their mission is to track down the Romulan deep cover agents. There's also a second plotline going on. Captain David Kent is a member of Starfleet intelligence. He's clever, charming. He's the Starfleet equivalent of James Bond or the Saint. He's investigating a series of murders. While crimes do happen in the Federation, when it happens on Earth, it's more of a heightened security manner. Members of alien races are being killed off, and enough evidence is being left to blame on entirely different alien species. The two plot lines intersect here and there for the first half of the story. Section 31 tries to capture a Romulan agent alive. It usually ends in either in death by an unknown assailant, although there is a figure that Danforth sees who will be important later. Or Kent gets there first, and the Section 31 team are forced to back off. When Section 31 finally discovers a Romulan decover agent and catch them alive, they're spotted by Kent, who gives chase. This is where Munt reveals that the true purpose of the mission is to have Danforth copy the Romulan agent's mind and put it in Ston's mind, and have Ston fulfill his true purpose of infiltrating the Romulan government, thus allowing a Section 31 operative to help bring down the Romulan Empire. The transfer is going to happen on the neutral planet of Nimbus 3, where all the various governments have a neutral meeting ground. Yes, Sean, the planet from the beginning of Star Trek V. At Nimbus 3, the attempted switchover goes horribly wrong when, during the arduous process of copying the Romulans' memories, Danforth and the others are caught by Kent. Kent thinks they're responsible for the assassinations, but Georgiou tries and fails to persuade him otherwise. In desperation, she's forced to reveal who Section 31 is, and Kent is horrified that someone else is pulling the strings. While taking a break for fresh air, Danforth spies the figure she saw earlier and picks up violent telepathic impulses. Kent gets Georgiou and her team to help him with his investigations, while on the outside a meeting of various alien diplomats are taking place. Garth escapes, and we get some humorous Amdram nonsense when he winds up on a stage during an alien burlesque show. Then there's an attack by a new alien race, it doesn't really matter, who work to gather diplomats together to capture and hold to ransom. During the battle, the Romulan deep cover agent escapes, but the Section 31 team find themselves forced to help turn the tide to protect the ambassador instead of completing the mission. Georgiou being the one to give the order, since the death of any of the diplomats could be justified to start a war. The battle is a victory for our heroes, but at the last moment, Kent tries to save the Romulan from being killed and takes a killing blow from the unknown assailant. The Romulan agent doesn't remember what was done to him, a side effect of Danforth's mind powers, but the Section 31 mission is now utterly botched, and Georgiou now finds herself facing drugged oblivion. At her debriefing, Georgiou notes that while the mission to get a Section 31 operative installed in the highest levels of the Romulan government was a failure, the optics of a Starfleet officer dying to protect a member of the Romulan Empire might help, make the Romulans more open to negotiations with the Federation. Even better, Section 31 remains undetected. Oberon Munt agrees, noting how Georgiou did try and save innocent people. She's safe from Garth's fate, this time. In the comfort of her own quarters, Georgiou reveals that she was the one who killed Kent when she realized that the mission was a failure, and using a stolen alien weapon, killed Kent to blame it on the aliens. She destroys the weapon, but she's left wondering, do Section 31 really know what she did? And does she feel good about killing a good man to save her skin?
Ooh.
That's good.
Nice.
There was also going to be a point where hundreds of Moopsies escape, but I couldn't shoehorn that in.
Okay, yeah, I think that's got a green light. It's got some nice moments to it all there, and of course, Garth of Izar obviously needs more use in the Star Trek canon.
And Amdram,
of course. Well, yeah. I mean, what's more Star Trek than some Amdram?
I mean, you have me at Nimbus 3, so.
All right. Who is next?
Well, I can go if you're. I will admit I don't. Mine's pretty short. I didn't get as much detail. There won't be as many. There won't be as many Easter eggs in mine. But I really like the core concept that I came up with. It came to me while I was doing dishes. So
That's right. I know I didn't intend on running long with mine, but anyone that's listened to this will know that overrunning is our style.
So, the core thing of my pitch was a belief that even before allegations came out about him, that I always thought that one of the problems with the all of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels was the idea of trying to make Captain Jack Sparrow the main character. Because he's a very good supporting character, he's not someone who you build a story around. And under that assumption, I decided Philippa Georgiou is better in that sort of a role, and to take the character of Rachel Garrett and make her the central focus of the story. So we open on Rachel Garrett getting booted from Starfleet Academy. She did before she could graduate, but after getting a lot of her skills, she and some classmates got into a prank that went totally out of hand. Someone might have died, didn't really think up the full details there, and she is washed out. She is not going to ever be part of Starfleet, or so she was told. Heartbroken that her future that she worked so hard for is now gone, she reaches out to a family member, an uncle who is a politician within the Federation. And her uncle expresses that she does have enough Starfleet training that she could be useful for a project that he's been working on, but it'd be better for Starfleet to not be involved anyway. So, young Rachel Garrett is transferred to a ship. It looks like a Starfleet ship, vaguely, at least some of the design language is there, but it doesn't have the livery, it doesn't have the logos on it. She finds out that it's called the Matahari, and when she meets the captain of the ship, the audience recognizes her as Philippa Georgiou. But she's not introduced as such. She's going under an alias.
Is she wearing shades and calling herself Quattro Pagina?
No. I'm not that bad. So, Garrett finds out that the crew of the Matahari are working on trying to take down a group called the Sons of Kalis. The Sons of Kalis are, as far as Garrett understands, a Klingon extremist group who are getting in the way of some Federation negotiations with the Klingons. And as they go out, we have some action sequences, we have some dealing with the Sons of Kalis directly, but as we get into some of these action sequences, you also have Georgiou forming a bit of a bond with Garrett, seeing that she kind of misses being the mother bird to a young person who she can mold in her image. And as the story progresses, Georgiou eventually reveals that she is Georgiou, but only to Rachel Garrett. And things come to a head. They find out where the leaders of the Sons of Kalis are going to be meeting, and they plan a strike against them. The clandestine group, the not technically Federation, Section 31, is successful. They take out the Sons of Kalis, they take out their leader, and eventually, as things are wrapping up, after they've done some very dirty deeds, Garrett takes a minute to talk to Georgiou about how she even came back and why so much blood needed to be shed. And Georgiou shrugs it off and says, well, I'm not sure why they thought it needed to be shed. I'm working for different people. Let's just say that I have a project, and in order for time to move the way it's supposed to, I needed you to do some things for me. And with that, and as before Rachel can ask her more information, they're in a shuttlecraft. They go down to a planet. Georgiou gets out, tells Garrett to take care of herself, and walks toward a mysterious circular obelisk, and in a flash of light is gone. Garrett finally gets to report back to her uncle, and her uncle spills the beans in a way that she wasn't expecting. The Sons of Kalis were hardly Klingon extremists. They were Klingon nationalists who wanted to keep Kronos having some form of autonomy, and the Federation didn't care for the kind of autonomy that the Sons of Kalis were fighting for because it would get in the way of their negotiations, and the Federation wouldn't come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett is told that she can return to Starfleet Academy in time to graduate, but in the back of her head, she knows that to get back in, she did a lot of dirty deeds and hurt a lot of people, all for someone else's negotiating table. And the guilt of what she did to cripple the Klingon Empire eats at her as she gets her diploma and graduates Starfleet Academy.
Damn.
Nice.
And so hear me out. I wanted it to also inform yesterday's Enterprise so that the guilt of what she did to get her to even graduate from the academy motivates her to side with the Klingons and sacrifice the Enterprise C. So it will also go. It would also go back to inform and make that movie, to make that classic episode just a little bit stronger.
My word, actually having a reason for Rachel Garrett to be there.
Yeah.
Revolutionary.
My ties to yesterday's Enterprise are much sillier.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I am on board. Accepted.
All right, excellent. I'm glad you guys liked it.
I'm watching that one. That's good. All right. It sounds like I volunteered to go next.
Yep.
All right. On the edge of space, a dark ship so black you can only see it because it blots out the Milky Way behind it is taking up the whole screen. On the reverse, we see a colorful, swirling maelstrom with a very faint dot in the middle. Just close up on the mouse so we can't see it. The captain orders a weapons lock on the dark blot. The view screen begins to resemble the outline of a man. The ship's audio sensors crackle to life, and a booming voice demands to know, why are you here? Directly behind the figure in front of the swirling maelstrom, he turns toward the starship behind him. No spacesuit. It's Gary Mitchell floating in space. We can make out his features as the track beam attempts to hold on to him, which he swipes away with a wave of his hand. The ship fires on Gary, and he again attempts to hold on to the ship, but he can't. Something's stopping him. All of a sudden, a torpedo splays open like a lotus flower, and rocks fly at Gary Mitchell, dispersing his essence. With his last whisper, he says, "You don't know what you've done." And a hole opens on the edge of the galaxy, and an invasion fleet flies through, destroying the ship as it passes. And before they are blown up, the captain orders a message, not to Starfleet, but to Section 31. I lost my spot. I got too into it. Georgiou. We cut to Georgiou with her new team. Everyone's asking her questions because they all know about Discovery. It's Section 31 after all. So they want to know how she came back. And she lies and says she got bored and hopped off at the earliest convenience because time travel is just not her style. But the message arrives garbled and incomplete. But the implication is obvious. Galactic annihilation is nigh. Lieutenant Rachel Garrett is distraught because that was her mother on that ship. Can you imagine the tragedy of a mother abandoning her child like that? Georgiou thinks of Michael and just says, all too well. So she is called before the Section 31 triumvirate installed after the loss of control. She's being given some awful backwater assignment, but she wants to investigate this distress signal that was sent directly to them. But the triumvirate says, you know that failure means that your existence in this organization is scrubbed, and even if this mission did happen, we would never acknowledge it. So we don't. So Request denied. Georgiou reminds them that they saved the galaxy from Control once already, and they should show her some more respect. Hinting at her other past as well. Denied, of course. Garrett is completely agog, expecting Georgiou to resign and protest, and she's like, and give up all these resources and plausible deniability of my actual mission? No. They give me all that I need. So through some twists and turns, Georgiou creates an unlikely set of allies in the face of galactic threat. Romulans, Klingons, the Frank, who find no profit in galactic annihilation. And they run into Spock, who is meeting with Senator Pardek. Completely fortuitous meeting, but he realizes that her presence means that Michael made it safely to the future, and so they exchange a little bit of information about their shared history. So Georgiou assures Spock that his sister thrives, and he also has had an interaction with the mirror universe since they last parted ways. So this is a very tenuous relationship, but there is a trust there where she, for one thing, actually tells him the truth about what she experienced in the future and to no one else. But of course, she is horrified at what the Enterprise has done to the Terran Empire in her absence and what it's become without her, and prognosticates that this will never last, of course. All the while, Garrett follows around the main characters like a lost puppy, learning her mentor's side. With Spock's help, since he was there when Gary ascended to godhood, they figure out what the mission was. Those rocks on the planet where he was initially killed have a special property that will enable him to have his essence dispersed. It's going to take decades or centuries to be recomposed, but they need him to stop the invasion. The real mission was to see if they could put these rocks into the hulls of ships to prevent them from godlike beings. It seems like the experiment was a success, minus this inconvenient invasion factor. So eventually they make their way out to the edge of the galaxy, reconstitute Gary Mitchell with their help, while the set of diplomatic clandestine organizations go to fight the invading threat. But of course, Section 31 catches up with them when they realize what they're doing, and they say, no, you have to stop this. Georgiou dies in the fight. Garrett cradles her body, and Georgiou lets her know it's okay. It's only fitting that a mother should die before her child. And when it's all over, with Georgiou presumed dead, Garrett dramatically quits Section 31 the way she wished Georgiou had done. But Spock says he may know someone who can help her. So cuts to Admiral McCoy, who is finishing her interview, glancing at a photograph of Spock, who's clearly giving off a sneaky fart in the photo, and says, "You seem like a very enterprising young woman." To which Garrett smiles. Snap to black, Section 31.
Oh, yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
So, which Spock are you going to use? Are you going to CG like Leonard Nimoy? Are you going to get Ethan Peck and kind of age him up? Or are you going to get Zachary Quinto?
Yes. Yeah. So I think they went to Ethan Peck first and he passed. So they went to Zachary Quinto next. But I think he's their last shot because the guy who did the Otoid thing just doesn't have the dramatic chops to pull it off. So.
Yeah, Spock wouldn't be able to speak during any of that. It just look kind of ominously. Okay, I like it. I love the use of the ceiling rocks, obviously. One of the best things about that.
Absolute tragedy that it comes around in the end just breaks my heart.
Oh, yeah. So upsetting.
Yep.
Excellent. Love it.
Approved. I had one question. Who is the invading alien force?
Who doesn't? That doesn't matter. Probably some like sentient robots or something. I don't know. Whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
They were just angry.
Sentient robots. Mass Effect.
Yes. Okay. Right. So. Right. Dear. Listen up, nerds. We got Michelle Yeoh, and if we're lucky, we can afford one, maybe two other people with Paramount money. So we're going to have to do something real good with them. No one's going to have seen Discovery, so we're fine doing whatever with that side of things. As far as a cast, we want to lean heavily heavily as we can on the references. We've got Paul Guilfoyle as the time hole, so we can go anywhere and everywhere for the rest of the cast. Let's get Connor Trenier. He always sounds eager to bring his character Trip back to life. Will Wheaton's probably in need of work, so we cancelled his show so we could get him back on board on Wesley. Get his brother from Picard. That'll get the legacy people happy. He could even say, "Shut up, Wesley," at that point. You know, like the meme. Finally, we need some sex appeal. So, let's get Jank and Pog from Star Trek Prodigy. I didn't see it. I don't know how it ends, but Mantzoukas is in right now, and people loved it when the cartoon ones came to life in Strange New Worlds.
Oh, God.
You know what else people love? Fucking time heists. Look at Avengers Endgame. So, we're going to do a time heist. Wesley's working as like number one for Paul Guilfoyle, and the pair mention an above top secret mission that's going to take them all over Federation time and space in order to stop a dangerous maniac who will ruin the reputation of the Federation. So they have to do this under the radar. Section 31 is not just a spy agency, you see. They're time cops. And this is why they're super secret and unethical, because they're the law, but they're also against the law. Yeah. Taste that? That's having a cake and eating it, friends. They are rebels that are for the status quo. Yeah. So, we get a montage of everyone getting recruited, ideally with some of those on-the-nose needle drops. I'm imagining Sympathy for the Devil for Michelle Yeoh, of course. Fortunate Son for Jack Crusher. Super Freak for Jank and Pog, Spirit in the Sky for Wesley Crusher, maybe Fortunate Son again for Trip, because he's like a good old boy. At some point, I've got a note here just saying, can we get Jank and Pog to say Poggers? Maybe. I don't know, but he'd be real down with the kids if he does that. Anyway, the heist. What are they after?
Charlie,
yes?
you're bleeding from your eyes, but I just feel to say that I feel that the needle drop for Trip should be the theme tune for TV's Dukes of Hazzard.
I know, but I was exclusively using music from the original David Ayers Suicide Squad soundtrack. Anyway, this time heist. What are they after? Don't worry about that. We'll wait for the big reveal. What's more important is where they're going.
Yeah.
What do people like? References. They fucking loved that Tribble episode of DS9, so we can just do that. Literally. Their first target is in the bar, in that Tribble episode of DS9 that's in that Tribble episode of old Star Trek. They see Worf. Maybe have Michelle Yeoh go, "Oh, Klingons look really messed up in my time." Then there's a bar fight. Only we're cutting our cast in getting into it and getting called out on that line by Kirk. Because people loved that. Only now he's doing the same thing again with Sisko and O'Brien, and then the exact same thing again with Jank and Pog and Jack Crusher. Afterwards, Michelle Yeoh reveals that while everyone was distracted in the fight, she went behind the bar and took what they needed. How many more of these time heists are there? How many are we going to have to do? Trip asks. 30, of course, Wesley says, as they have 31 targets. Cut! Montage! Yes! Yes! So, they're stealing the last bottle of Romulan Ale before Romulus blows up. They're on the Enterprise while everyone's hooked on VR games. Make it easy to steal from 10 forward. Wesley sees Robin Leffler and tells her, "Go easy on Wesley, he's just a little guy." They're running from a giant cat in a spooky castle. Yes, they're in Catsport. They need to steal from the Eldritch Clangers banquet. Can we fit a cat's reference in there as well? That was popular. They're in Carbon Creek in bumfuck nowhere. Vulcans are hiding on Earth and one of them's bringing back a pie from a diner. They steal it and some weird technology. Trip thinks he sees T'Pol in the corner of his eye. Shakes his head. No, it can't be. They're running for a menagerie, being watched by Pike in his Perspex cage. They're playing music with Grappler Zorn and his jam band on Farpoint Station, all while Michelle Yeoh steals from his office. Picard's sunbathing on Planet Fuck with his sexy statue. Who's next to him sunbathing? You know it's Jank and Pog. that collector guy who wanted data, they're going to want to steal a bunch of things from him. If I've lost count, that's how many things they're stealing. Michelle Yeoh now gives William Sadler a knowing nod and swaps out a platter with a scone and jams on it for some gach. Is William Sadler alive? If not, we can get those Unification web movie boys on it.
Yeah.
They're experts after all. Next, Tom Paris is drinking some Paris Delight coffee in Voyager, celebrating hitting Warp 10. Wesley says to camera, "Oh, that never works out," and steals the coffee while Paris has an allergic reaction to water. Neelix looks at them knowingly. Put a pin in that.
Oh.
They're on the bus from Star Trek 4, giving each other a knowing look when Spock does that thing with the punk guy. They're at Chateau Picard. Jack's drinking with JL, and all the others are in the vineyards. This is where we get some bad guys, because we do need some bad guys, I've just realised. There's a big fight in the vineyard. Phasers, sprinklers going off. Get Michelle Yeoh kicking ass, like she likes to do. Trip engineers a vineyard robot. They escape with a few bottles, and Trip says, "Oh no, it tastes like piss." They're on Voyager and steal some Nimian sea salt from Neelix. He notices and is talked to by some bad guys. We need a named one, so we'll say Bob. He's played by, I don't know, like Wentworth Miller, Prison Break from Prison Break, and Captain Cold. Captain Archer is in a bed looking old and poorly. Trip enters walking like a drunk T-Rex and sits with him as he watches Earth's sunset. He's surprised to see his friend who's safe, who's travelled through time to see him. And he says, "Oh boy, we need Borg, right?" So, we need Borg. So, we need to have them stealing during Wolf 359. Nerds fucking love Wolf 359. We need a longer sequence where they're in the Enterprise's bar during the musical episode of Strange New Worlds, because people fucking love musical things.
Oh,
that episode, Wicked, Cats, I'm sure there are others. People also love Klingons, so we're going to go to the Klingon homeworld. One of the scenes where Gowron's really hamming it up on stage. Prison Break fights Jack Crusher, and they get noticed by the Klingons, but it's okay because they're fighting. But Prison Break runs away before they can stop him. We go into Star Trek 6 with the blood and the anti-gravity. That was cool. We can have a fight going on while people are floating. I've got some notes from production. Is there a mobile game of Star Trek at the moment? We can do some synergy with one of the heists. Maybe sink some of those whales by having them steal like a sample of whatever the currency is there.
Oh my god.
Prison Break's arrived on DS9 just as Klingons invade, and he steals from Cisco's office before our cast can get what he's after. They're too busy fighting the Klingons as well. Some more Borg. Of course, maybe during Picard, all of the young people were possessed by Borg, which is bad, but a perfect opportunity to steal things. The bad guys are back again, and maybe Jack Crusher can look at himself from Picard Season 3 and go, "Oh, this was all a bit bad, wasn't it?" There's a chase going on between Khan and Spock on like flying cars, and Michelle Yeoh and Jack Crusher chase after him, trying to steal something from Khan's fancy coat that he's wearing, just trying to grab into his pockets while they're punching each other. We're in Discovery, and there's that bad AI who took over Section 31. Wesley mentions this isn't our organization's best moment. Also, AI is really good, even if this is bad, because we have to say that, because we're going to be using AI to mask most of these cameos. We've got to do what we can, guys. Next, they're stealing soup from the Romulan place where Data and Picard were in unification. They ran off before finishing theirs, so it's a perfect opportunity. Wesley's in the Enterprise D ready room when he sees himself being made into an adult by Q. He looks at his own schlubby Will Wheaton body and at the weird, jarring hunk version of himself and shakes his head. Michelle Yeoh's running through that giant Death Star Federation ship from Into Darkness, fighting whatever was there. Was it Khan's people? I don't know. Also, Prison Break's goons are there, because they've not been there for a few heists. I've been made aware that kids love Richard Morty, and we've got one of those that's a Star Trek. We'll get a fan favourite character, Peanut Hamper, from that. And oh my god, she actually has peanuts inside of her! They're pretty foul, but they're needed for the mission. They did a Star Trek X-Men crossover, so if we reference it somehow, like have them steal from an Enterprise and see someone's fists pop some claws, maybe we can get grandfathered into the MCU. What's left that people love? That Gorn fight, only just over the jagged rock thing. We've got our guys fighting some CGI Gorns, and they save Kirk, because there would have been more of them, and he'd have been outnumbered. First contact. We need first contact. Right, so we've done Borg. Let's have the cast drinking with Riker and that lot on Earth. And they look up at the Enterprise, and Michelle Yeoh says, "Oh, I'm pleased I'm not up on there." We're on Voyager's holodeck cocktail bar. The group are dancing with Neelix and the hologram babes. They've got to steal a holographic cocktail, only, oh no! Neelix gets a cocktail umbrella and stabs Trip with it. Yes! Big reveal! Neelix is the mastermind. He's seen Federation technology. He's upset his child bride can't come back from the dead. He hates replicated food. He's trying to make the most obscene meal ever, to go back to the founding of the Federation and break them apart. And that's why Section 31 needs to steal all the ingredients before he can. Yes, the 31 ingredients. A fight ensues, and it's the holodeck. So we're doing this all through green screen and non-union CGI guys anyway. So we'll flash through every single Enterprise, even the cartoon one if we can. Neelix is not a good fighter, but do you know who is? It's Prison Break, his back. Jack and Wesley end up crushing him and give a respectful nod to each other. Truly, they are brothers now. It looks like it might be too late, though. Neelix runs through time to a Federation dinner on the first night of the Federation. He shoves aside the other chefs, and even though he's not got all the ingredients, he reckons he can make it work. He monologues to the other cooks about his master plan, that he got away from Section 31 only. They're right behind me, aren't they? Yes, they are, Neelix. Sure enough, they pull off chef's hats, and they're all of our team. Jankum says something sassy, and then Michelle Yeoh does a kick, kicks Neelix in the face. He falls over. We get one last musical number as they cook the best meal they can to impress the heads of the newly formed Federation. During all of this, William Sadler explains to us that, you see, Section 1 wasn't even a black ops evil department anyway. They've got Starfleet intelligence for that. They've got internal affairs for that. And they're a utopia. They were here to fix this problem specifically. And even though they got up to some shady things, got possessed by an evil AI that one time, they're ultimately benevolent. And then they all cheers. Freeze frame. The end. Only Neelix has vanished. So maybe a sequel? And there you go. I've done it. I've made a Star Trek no one can get mad at.
Two things. One, I think I've gone colorblind. Two, boy, cocaine in Brighton seems to have improved over the last 14 years.
I can't remember why I wanted to do 31 heists and write them all.
I think your cocaine might have been laced with ketamine.
Oh dear. So, green light?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Sure, this'll,
Yeah, this will
definitely work.
Yeah, this is definitely not woke.
Oh dear. Wow.
I did have something delivered to me a little bit ago that I guess one more that my wife, my wonderful wife gave me her Section 31 treatment. It's 2 pages.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It says Raina's Section 31 treatment. And the second page says, "No, you will not make that film. Put that idea back. The end."
Yeah. Damn it. I think she wins.
Yup. Dang it.
Charlie, do you need to go have a lie down?
I do a bit.
You're still bleeding from your eyes, and it's kind of worrying.
Charlie,
That's
are you
right.
taking your antipsychotics? Because I'm a little worried right now.
I think you're sweating blood.
That's right. That's the inspiration.
I think there was an X-Files episode about that, actually.
So, yeah, before I go and have a lie down, first of all, Sean, did you have the timings on who was the best, who was the fastest, and who was the slowest at recapping?
Yeah, I do. So we all sinned against the timing gods.
Okay.
We'll go in reverse order. Last place, even accounting for the interruption, was Cele with 3 minutes and 53 seconds.
Curses!
And then next up is Charlie with 3:42. All right, and then the next two are very close. It may even be closer because I might have taken a little too long to hit the lap on mine. But we got 2:41 and 2:38 for Miles and me, respectively. So, can you trust the guy who had the timer? Who knows? I'm a
Miles accused you of wanting to buy a Cybertruck. I feel like you can fudge this one in your favor.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so normally we announce what we're doing next time, and Miles had the bright idea of saying that we made you to watch this film, and as such, you can decide what our next topic is going to be.
Oh dear.
Be kind, please.
Be kind, rewind.
All right, we gotta put our thinking hats on here. I don't know. I had some ideas from when I was going to be on that we didn't do. I should look at plumb the depths of that one.
Yeah, I wish I would have known going in. I would have had something prepared.
Well, tell you what we can do.
Trek Star.
We can give you a couple of days, and then we can either keep it a surprise for the next episode, or edit it in editing.
Cele and Sean have given their feedback, and we are going to be covering Sarek. So expect a lot of daddy issues.
You know, I did think of something else positive about the movie.
Oh?
It was still better than the endless series of horrors of looking at the news in the United States right now.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, it provided a nice distraction from the ongoing bin fire.
Well, a distraction anyway.
A distraction. Not a nice distraction, but you know.
So, guests, please, before we do our own pluggables, where can the audience find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/CelesteIsBest. I'm currently in the process of making a lot more stuff about Gundam, because apparently that's where the numbers are, including a project that I'm working on with Miles. And then if you want to see me violently fluctuate between opinions on nerddom and anime, trans joy, and just existential horror at the political climate that we exist in, you can find me on Blue Sky, also at Celeste is Best.
Right on. So you can find me on YouTube at Famicom Dojo, Blue Sky at Famicom Dojo, Threads for now at Famicom Dojo. I think we've been posting things to other meta stuff like Instagram. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we've recorded some new stuff. We had our new podcast too that should be coming out in relatively short order. Celeste and I have also been talking about doing some Mega Man 3 stuff for a live stream. And I think by the time that this podcast comes out, we should have a new scripted video.
Excellent.
Dojo channel. So
we also still need to talk about doing Starship Titanic.
Yeah, Miles and I are doing Starship Titanic at some point. I need to get a copy of that first, but yes, we are doing that thing.
Cool. So, as for Miles and myself, you can find us collectively as Casual Trek on Ko-fi, patreon.com/casual trek if you want to throw us a few bars of gold pressed latinum and suggest an episode to wield the power and horror that these two here are currently wielding over us. You too can do it for, frankly, anything. For us, literally any money. We're not fussy.
It's like bitch capitalism.
Exactly. We are also on Blue Sky as casualtrek.bsky.social, and I am currently looking to potential movement of doing a Patreon, so keep your eyes on that.
Ooh.
Also, recently I have found the password for the Casual Trek YouTube account, so we are now on YouTube finally, as a podcast, if you want to watch us in audio form, and Amazon Music, which Amazon, but we're spreading like some horrendous plague. Mars, where can the good folks find you?
They can find me on mareedlabato.wordpress.com, my blog, and they can find me at. Hang on, wait a second. I'm usually good at this. Sorry, it's Charlie's pitch apparently like damaged a couple of brain cells. I feel like I've been punched.
Yeah, that was the intent.
I feel like I've been punched in the head by Chrissy.
I'm so glad we fell along. Half of us did a serious one, half of us did not take it seriously at all.
You can find me on my blog at mareedlabato.wordpress.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at milesreedlabato.bsky.social.
Cool. You can find me also on Blue Sky at skyshark.bsky.social. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have some things either on my blog at faketales.com or on Who Dares Rolls, which is whodaresrolls.com, as there's Zine Quest coming up and a lot of indie creators that I'd like to shed some light on. Oh god, and Tumblr at Faked Tales, because I keep forgetting that exists, but yeah, it does. Right, so with all that in mind, I can only apologise to Sean and Cele. Miles, you knew what you were getting into. Yeah. And yeah, go do a Starfleet, just not a Section 31.
Go do a Starfleet, don't buy a Cybertruck.
Yes.
And keep on spocking in the free world. That one's my catchphrase.
You have been listening to Casual Trek, a Nerd and High podcast, presented by Charlie Etheridge Nunn and Miles Reed Lobato. Music by Alfred Etheridge Nunn. Star Trek by Paramount. Not us. Not yet.